Hi guys, if you couldn't tell by the title of today's video, I've got some pretty serious things to talk about that don't just affect me, but may affect you and more importantly affect some great people that I wanted to talk about and acknowledge today. If you didn't hear recently or didn't see from the Discord, epicseven, or rather Smilegate as a company has recently let go of a majority of, if not most of, their NA specific or global branch. Now, to be clear, this doesn't just include epicseven. This, in theory, would also include Outerplanes, which is another company that's actually been affected by the news I'm about to talk about today. But to begin and to start off, I want to acknowledge and thank the hard work of sincerely every community manager and a lot of the people behind the scenes, especially at the global end of Smilegate, who have been fantastic and wonderful to work with, both in terms of planning, setting up events, giving advice, and everything in between. For that, sincerely, you have my thanks, and I thank you so much for everything that you've done since basically joining this program. Now, with this, we do have to talk about a few things and a couple of notifications or, I guess, images that I've seen floating around in regards to, well, the state of Smilegate and kind of the future maybe of epicseven and my thoughts. Let's get into it. The first thing, if you didn't see it, was a post from Gimmick, which reads that it is with a heavy heart today that Gimmick and his fellow teammate Ryoko will be stepping away from epicseven as community managers. They thank everyone specifically for, allowing them to be part of the community. Thank you as well for your part in this community. And they go on to talk about the passion, dedication, support of, the community as a whole, who really have, I would say, opened or welcomed these two and the community managers that we've had, especially more recently with open arms, but also that this means that the live stream, first and foremost, that they're referring to will no longer be returning as it's originally scheduled. Now, to be honest, as someone that had been on the live stream maybe months ago at this point, maybe 4 to 6 months ago, and hadn't returned back to it, I had kind of felt that there was a much lower priority on live streams in general, especially since it felt like they were so infrequent in general anyways. Now, with that being said, I'm not going to speculate too much on what's going on and rather focus on what's exactly going on. And the next thing we have to talk about is a post that I actually saw made by someone in the Outerplane's official Discord. To be clear, this is a former social media member for Outerplane's Twitter. Excuse me. And this individual is known as Jay Waffles. And I'll read out the message a little bit in case you can't see it. But what it reads is that, "Hey all, Jay Waffles here, former social guy for Outerplane Twitter. Smilegate's US office has just gotten shuttered. Not sure what it means for Outerplane's OP, but it's been a pleasure to be a part of this community. This means the E7 team is gone too. I'll join back here on my personal in a bit and address anything. Hope you're all well." Now, again, before anything else, thank you again for the dedication, the commitment, and the work that Jay Waffles has put. And although I personally hadn't played Outerplanes that much, I've definitely seen and interacted with a number or a few of the Outerplanes posts just because, well, it's Twitter. You see things like this. Now, moving forward, Jay Waffles returned on their next account, J20, and they mentioned, "Hey all, Jay Waffles' personal account here." And in response to a Discord member talking about or asking why they may have closed the US office, they said, or they theorized that perhaps it was because games weren't performing well. I know for sure Outerplanes wasn't. Now, before we even break down this comment, let me be absolutely clear. The topic of gacha revenue or topic of revenue in general for companies has been widely debated, and there's a lot of controversy over whether or not even the numbers or the listed statistics when it comes to numbers that are being posted online are realistic or even accurate. So, although some people may reference some of the old gacha revenue posts perhaps, or the gacha revenue in general, as for reasons why this may be the case, I wouldn't take any of that as credible as I would as obviously someone being an employee at Smilegate and what they are maybe hypothesizing. That being said, all of this is still speculation, even from J20's end. However, if a former employee immediately following termination is already saying things or speculating things like this, I can only assume, or I would say it's okay or decently safe to assume that things weren't necessarily going super well at Outerplane. Now, the next comment that was mentioned, or the next comment that J20 mentioned, was in regards to E7 live streams. And as you're seeing, it says E7 live streams are gone, and this doesn't have to do with the fires. And if you aren't familiar with this as well, the state of California, basically, or a lot of parts of California, especially Los Angeles, is currently experiencing a bunch of wildfires. To be honest, if you're curious about that, you can probably hear about or look up more about it, that topic itself, I should say, online if you're curious. However, it is worth mentioning that he says it doesn't have to do with the fires, but that he was a mod for Outerplane and then taken off to focus on Chaos Zero Nightmare, which is CZN, the new Smilegate title, but then put on Outerplane just to be put back on Chaos Zero Nightmare again. However, they've been worried for a bit. Very concerning things, to be honest, to be told as you keep moving in and out of different departments. And honestly, that doesn't really sound very proper or sound very organized in any case. But the final thing that I think is a bit concerning about commentary, and I know this doesn't necessarily have to do with epicseven specifically, but given that it's, again, someone that is related to or talking about a Smilegate branch in general, is that one of the final messages that J20 mentions here is that he says he doesn't want to panic anyone. And again, everything here is pretty much speculation, aside from, I guess, the fire not being a contributor to why everyone was let go. But he says, I don't want to panic anyone, but I don't know how long Outerplane will last. Just be careful spending money on it. Now, again, if I'm being completely honest, seeing comments like this from a former employee is a bit shocking. I think, J20 or J Waffles is more than, within his right to say whatever message he wants. And especially since this is literally something that you could find in the public Discord itself. It's interesting and shocking, honestly, for comments like this to be coming out so soon after the official announcement. To be clear, if I'm not mistaken, this is an EST, and I took screenshots of this again from the Discord itself, but this message is at 7:39 p.m., and this message from Gimmick in the official E7 Discord is at 5:56 p.m. So within only 2 hours or so, messages like this from a personal account were already being conveyed, which is very odd and strange, I would say, in terms of termination, in terms of ending policies and stuff, which is very concerning or very unusual. But in addition to this, there were some final comments about Outerplane and their update future, which is that RTA isn't happening because it's not popular in Japan, which is the focus. But he also ends this by saying, in any case, I'll check in every now and then, but we all lost our jobs today, so it's pretty sad. Again, to be honest, all of this is sad. Everything that I've heard is saddening in regards to this. Not only have the community members or community managers that a lot of you guys probably know over at epicseven have presumably lost their jobs, the state or the future of Smilegate titles, especially or presumably including epicseven and Outerplane, is kind of up in the air. We're not sure where the future of these characters or of these games is going to go. And for me, I'm sad. I'm upset, to be honest, because, well, some really good people lost their jobs. And now I'd honestly like to give some of my thoughts about, well, epicseven, Smilegate, and, well, the future of, I guess, maybe even this channel. Now, again, I don't want to fixate too much of this being on myself because, again, I think the biggest priority here is, number one, the fact that, again, a lot of good people lost their jobs, and I don't mean to highly overemphasize that, but, again, if you've lost your job just off a whim, very last second it feels, or just like this, it's very concerning. But I think what we're seeing right here is concerning, to say the least. As J Waffles put it perfectly, or J20 put it perfectly, everyone lost their jobs, and for all intents and purposes, there isn't much of or that much remaining of a global reach or impact from Smilegate as it stands right now. Now, again, I don't think, or as far as I can tell, we don't have exact confirmation that every single person from the global side or the global branch from Smilegate has been let go. However, However, the vocabulary of we all lost our jobs and I don't know how long a game will last, speaking as a former employee, I think is very concerning. Now, again, in relation to this, and even in regards to Gimmick's post, maybe Smilegate will eventually put out an official posting or mention of this. However, as I'm sure a number of you guys have maybe seen over the past or in the past, sometimes companies will say things like, we regret to inform that we will no longer be including things like English voices or English staffing, and that's usually not a good sign. And again, that's not necessarily to say that epicseven will, tread down one specific path. However, in my experience, or from what I could tell, the fact that a company is losing their entire global branch that's not a good sign. Now, again, if I have to be absolutely blunt, completely unrelated to the termination of the community managers, the recent content and the recent trending of epicseven after their initial hype phase of getting a lot of eyes back on the game through the anniversary event, the updates after the fact have been pretty lackluster. Now, to be clear, they have been working on other things, perhaps like young Senya's side story and some other characters. I know a lot of people were pretty excited for, or have been pretty gushy over some of the new characters or some of the designs in general. However, with the prioritization, or it feels like the supporting of more packs as like a major focus of the game, it's pretty obvious to me specifically that there's an obvious shift in terms of prioritization to where epicseven focuses itself. Now, again, I know that epicseven is a business and Smilegate is a business and they need to make money. However, changes towards the direction of their content, in addition to news like their entire branch closing down, is, again, to honestly sound like a broken record, it's concerning. It's worrying. I don't really know where epicseven's going to be in 3 months or even 6 months, even less, maybe even a month, or what's going to end up happening. And to be honest, as a creator for epicseven and for Smilegate, or I guess for epicseven specifically, not having access to or being able to talk to community managers about any concerns, thoughts, any feedback about the game in general, as a creator is also pretty alarming, because now if there's bugs, if there's commentary or feedback that the community wants to provide or deliver to the developers, we're going to just have to pray that they hear us through some forums, or we're just going to have to keep messaging them through like YouTube comments or the Stove forums. Whatever it is, it's extremely, extremely saddening to see what's happened here. And as a final tiny little note, again, I don't want to speculate too much about what's going on with epicseven. We'll see, and hopefully there's an announcement for what they officially announce. But for my personal future with epicseven, truth be told, I've been continuing to play the game. I've been covering the game. I haven't been kicked out of my guild. I've been doing my guild wars. I've been doing arena. However, the game personally has not felt particularly exciting to me. A lot of the issues that it feels like keep reoccurring, or that are reoccurring in the game, don't get addressed, or they are reintroduced as problem with then selling a solution, which I don't necessarily agree with in terms of like a gameplay loop or model for a video game. But in addition to this, with there seeming to be less and less focus or less and less reason, honestly, for even the global side to exist, as per, I mean, them literally getting rid of their own global branch at this point, I'm not sure exactly what will happen in the future. I plan on covering new releases for epicseven, but truthfully, I'm not even sure who's going to post it. I don't know if they're going to have thumbnails for it. I don't know if there's going to be streams. What happens if the translations for the descriptions, or for the Korean side, or for the videos aren't translated? What if things like this all end up in the air? Truth be told, I don't know what's going to happen with epicseven. I'll try to cover it for as long as I can, honestly, because again, I think epicseven is a game that a lot of people consider to be an honestly, genuinely high potential game, even despite it being pretty old. But there was very obvious life to the game, especially when things like, again, the anniversary came out. They were super generous about it. They were giving out new characters. It felt like they really cared about the new player experience. And coincidentally, at the same time, they also had what I would imagine to be one of their most successful, not just public perception, public receiving months, but also, from what we could tell, and roughly, they also had a generally positive looking revenue month, if you can say that. Now, again, I don't know if epicseven ends up going bare bones. I don't know if this is something that will end up being the case, or that I end up following, or if I end up continuing, especially if they just pretty much put the game on life support. And who knows, for this channel, maybe I'll introduce content from stream, or maybe I'll cover things like Arknight's Enfield, of which I've actually been granted access to. But in the future, this channel will continue to be posted on. I'll appreciate anyone that supports or watches the content. And to be honest, guys, I'm sorry. I'm kind of shocked, at a loss for words. I don't really know what's going on. But seeing the news from Gimmick, seeing the news from, well, all different sources in terms of Smilegate is concerning. And I want to thank you again for everyone who supported, watched, and honestly was part of, or is part of, the epicseven community. If we're still all together and we're still here in the future, I wish you all luck. I wish you guys all a lovely evening, afternoon, morning. But that's going to be it from me today. Thanks again for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed. I'll see you on the next one. Goodbye.